Hello again, my friends, and welcome to another edition of Mental Health Storytime, brought to you by the Children's Book Bank. My name is Lori, and I work for the Children's Book Bank. I'm not at the Children's Book Bank. This is my house. But I'm going to tell you some stories from my couch. I hope that's cool. Today we're going to talk about being worried, being anxious, and having fears about stuff. Because absolutely everybody in the whole world has some anxiety about certain things. They're worried about certain things. They're afraid of very specific things sometimes. And sometimes some people just have a lot of worries and they seem sort of worried about everything. So we're going to read two books about two very different young people. One who has a very specific fear that he learns to conquer, kind of. He learns to be brave. This is The Dark by Lemony, Snicket, and John Klassen. And the other one is Wemberly Worried by Kevin Henkes. And poor Wemberly is pretty much worried about all kinds of things all the time. And they learn how to sort of turn down all of those worries in their head. So let's do, I think, Wemberly Worried first. Kevin Henkes. And some of these worries might seem very silly to you, but some of them you might also worry about sometimes. So it'll be kind of neat to see how Wemberly deals with it. There we go. Let me make sure you can see the pictures okay. That's pretty good. This is Wemberly Worried. Wemberly worried about everything. Big things, little things, and things in between. Let's see what Wemberly's worried about. They say, I just wanted to make sure you were still here. That would be a big thing. If their parents were gone in the middle of the night, that wouldn't be good. Little things like, ooh, they spilled some juice and dropped their toy. And things in between. And Wemberly says, Mama, what if I shrink? Wemberly worried in the morning, she worried at night, and she worried throughout the day. It's tiring, doesn't it? You worry too much, said her mother. When you worry, I worry, said her father. Worry, 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 said her grandmother. Too much worry. At home, Wemberly worried about the tree in the front yard. What if it falls on our house? She's saying there. And the crack in the living room wall. What if it gets bigger and something comes out of it? That's what she's thinking there. And the noise the radiators made. What if there's a snake inside? Do you think that's true? At the playground, Wemberly worried about the chains on the swings, the bolts on the slide, and the bars on the jungle gym. They're too rusty, too loose, and too high. And always she worried about her doll, whose name was Petal. Shouldn't Petal have a car seat too? That's what she says there. Petal's lost forever! And her mom says, oh no, I found her, it's okay. Bottom, she says, I'll wait for you, Petal, while she's in the washing machine. Don't worry, said her mother. Don't worry, said her father. But Wemberly worried. She worried and worried and worried. When Wemberly was especially worried, she rubbed Petal's ears. Wemberly worried that if she didn't stop worrying, Petal would have no ears left at all. I wonder if you have a toy like that. I think my childhood teddy bear has no ears at all at this point. That's a real worry that Wemberly should worry about. On her birthday, Wemberly worried that no one would come to her party. But there they all were. See, said her mother, there was nothing to worry about. But then Wemberly worried that there wouldn't be enough cake for everybody. What are they saying there? This is the best present ever! I wish I had my birthday today. They're having a great time. But Wemberly is still having a bit of a tricky time. On Halloween, Wemberly worried that there would be too many butterflies in the neighborhood parade, so she's dressed as a butterfly. See, said her father, there was nothing to worry about. But then Wemberly worried because she was the only butterfly. You can see everyone there. Very mouse-themed for the most part. There's a cat, and there's some cheese. An elephant. No other butterflies. You worry too much, said her mother. When you worry, I worry, said her father. Worry, 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 said her grandmother. Too much worry. What does it say? Our grandmother's showing her, I think that's her art that says, take it as it comes. Oh, you can see in the other picture what's going to happen next. Soon, Wemberly had a new worry. School. Wemberly worried about the start of school more than anything she had ever worried about before. That's definitely a worry that I would say everybody goes through. By the time the first day arrived, Wemberly had a long list of worries. What if no one else has spots? What if no one else wears stripes? What if no one else brings a doll? What if the teacher's mean? What if the room smells bad? That's just on this page. But then there's more. What if they make fun of my name? What if I can't find the bathroom? What if I hate the snack? What if I have to cry? Don't worry, said her mother. Don't worry, said her father. But Wemberly worried. She worried and worried and worried. She worried all the way there. There they go to school. And Grandma says, have fun. Which I think will be hard for Wemberly, don't you think? While Wemberly's parents talked to the teacher, Mrs. Peachum, Wemberly looked around the room. Then Miss Peachum said, Wemberly, there is someone I think you should meet. Her name was Jewel. She was standing by herself. She was wearing stripes, and she was holding a doll. Can you see her? There she is. At first, Wemberly and Jewel just peeked at each other. This is Petals, said Wemberly. This is Niblet, says Jewel. There's their dolls. Petal waved. Niblet waved back. Hi, said Petal. Hi, said Niblet. I rub her ears, said Wemberly. I rub her nose, said Jewel. Throughout the morning, Wemberly and Jewel sat side by side and played together whenever they could. Petal and Niblet sat side by side too. They are in the carriage. Wemberly worried, but no more than usual, and sometimes even less. Before Wemberly knew it, it was time to go home. There she is having fun. Well, I guess in the top she's being a little bit worried about the slide. But she has fun in the end. Page will not open. There we go to the end. Come back tomorrow, called Mrs. Peachum as the students walked out the door. Wemberly turned and smiled and waved. I will, she said. Don't worry. And that is the end of Wemberly Worried by Kevin Henkes. I quite like this book because Wemberly does learn in the end that she's not alone in being worried. Her mom and dad say, you worry too much and you have to stop worrying, but a lot of people have a lot of worries. And that's okay. She found a friend who was just as worried as she was. And having a friend helped her be a little less worried about stuff because they could do things together when mom and dad and grandma weren't around, which is nice. I think this book is also great because it shows that her mom and dad and grandma care very much about her worries. They want her to stop worrying, but that's kind of not who she is. She's just naturally anxious. She's naturally worried about stuff. But something that happens... I have to find the page, that's the challenge. This page, I think, is very important because you can see that Mom and Dad are having a conversation with the teacher. And I wonder what that conversation's about. I bet they're telling the teacher that Wemberly is really worried about school, and then the teacher helps her find a friend, which is great. So this sort of shows you that you should talk to grown-ups about your worries. If you think they don't know that you're worried, because it's possible that they didn't realize that you're worried about something specific, or you're just very anxious about a lot of things, that, your parents or whoever is raising you, whoever lives in your house that's a grown-up, can help you out with your worries. And your teachers too. All the grown-ups that care about you, they care about your worries, and they can probably help you. So there's Wemberly Worried by Kevin Henkes. And now it is time for The Dark by Lemony Snicket and illustrated by John Klassen. This one is a little bit different, as I said before. It's not so much about being worried about all kinds of things, but it's more about, conquering fears or sort of accepting your fears and getting over them a little bit. Or getting over them completely. I don't know. Let's just read and find out, shall we? There's Laszlo. Laszlo was afraid of the dark. The dark lived in the same house as Laszlo, a big place with a creaky roof, smooth, cold windows, and several sets of stairs. It's a big house, isn't it? Sometimes the dark hid in the closet. Sometimes it sat behind the shower curtain. But mostly it spent its time in the basement. All day long the dark would wait in a distant corner, far from the squeaks and rattles of the washing machine, pressed up against some old, damp boxes and a chest of drawers no one ever opened. At night, of course, the dark went out and spread itself against the windows and doors of Laszlo's house. But in the morning, the dark would be back in the basement, where it belonged. Laszlo would peek at the dark every morning. "Hi," he would say. "Hi, dark." Laszlo thought that if he visited the dark in the dark's room, maybe the dark wouldn't come visit him in his room. But one night, it did. Uh-oh. I think his nightlight went out. Can you see? There's the nightlight. And not so much now. "Laszlo," the dark said, in the dark. The voice of the dark was as creaky as the roof of the house, and as smooth and as cold as the windows. And even though the dark was right next to Laszlo, the voice seemed very far away. "What do you want?" asked Laszlo. "I want to show you something," said the dark. "In here?" "No," said the dark. "Not in the closet." "Here?" No, said the dark. "Downstairs. He's not behind the shower curtain." "Downstairs?" "Yes," said the dark. In Laszlo's living room was the biggest window in the house. Laszlo looked out at all the dark outside. Above him, the roof creaked, and he closed his eyes. Now the dark was all Laszlo could see. No, said the dark. "Not there. Down here." "In the basement?" asked Laszlo. "Yes," said the dark. Laszlo had never dared come to the dark's room at night. "Come closer," said the dark. Laszlo came closer. "Even closer," said the dark. You might be afraid of the dark, but the dark is not afraid of you. That's why the dark is always close by. The dark peeks around the corner and waits behind the door, and you can see the dark up in the sky almost every night, gazing down at you as you gaze up at the stars. Without a creaky roof, the rain would fall on your bed, and without a smooth, cold window, you could never see outside, and without a set of stairs, you could never go into the basement, where the dark spends its time. Without a closet, you would have nowhere to put your shoes, and without a shower curtain, you would splash water all over the bathroom, and without the dark, everything would be light, and you'd never know if you needed a light bulb. Bottom drawer, said the dark. What? Bottom drawer, said the dark. Open the bottom drawer. Oh, thank you, said Laszlo. You're welcome, said the dark. Can you see what he got? Looks like a light bulb. Do we remember when the light bulb went out? Let's look again. There's his nightlight. And then it went dark. And now he has a new one. By the time Laszlo got back into bed, the dark was no longer in his room, except when he closed his eyes to go to sleep. The next morning, Laszlo visited the dark in the basement. Hi, he said. Hi, dark. The dark didn't answer, but the bottom drawer was still open, so it looked like something in the corner was smiling. The dark kept on living with Laszlo, but it never bothered him again. And that is the end of my second story. That was The Dark, Lemony Snicket, and John Klassen. And like I said 3 times now, this is a very different story from Wemberly Worried. Poor Wemberly is worried about everything, whereas Laszlo is just worried about the dark. And this one is a little bit silly because, of course, the dark can't talk to you. The dark doesn't have, like, a brain. It's just where no light is. But it's interesting to think about if some of the things that you're afraid of could talk to you. They'd probably tell you that they're not here to hurt you. The dark doesn't want to hurt you. I'm afraid of spiders for a reason I couldn't tell you. And pretty much, I don't think there are any spiders in Canada that could hurt you. There's some spiders in the world that could bite you and you would get hurt. But I think if, the spiders that lived in my house could talk, they'd say, oh, I'm just here to eat some bugs. I'm just hanging out in the corner. But they still kind of freak me out. So it's normal to be afraid of things like the dark or spiders or bats or ghosts. But if those things could talk or were real, they'd probably tell you they're not trying to hurt you at all. Laszlo also does something that, if you're brave enough to do it, it's very useful to get over fears. It's called exposure, which means that you just do a little bit of the thing that scares you, a little bit at a time. And gradually, you'll find out that it's really not so scary. You're not afraid of it anymore. So that's pretty cool that Laszlo did that all by himself. In Wemberly Worried, Wemberly needs help from her parents and her teacher. She needs help from grown-ups to get over her fears a little bit. But both of these things are great things to do. And of course, you know that if, someone says, come here and is trying to take you somewhere you don't want to go, you're not going to do that. This is just a pretend story. But these were my stories about being anxious, worried, and having very normal, rational fears or natural fears, and having fears about absolutely everything. Both are kind of, normal and okay. So thank you for listening to Wemberly Worried by Kevin Henkes and The Dark by Lemony Snicket and John Klassen. And until next time, I'm going to say bye.